Nottingham Trent University, working with you. Proud sponsors of Working Week.
On Working Week this week,
it's our Euro special.
We'll be hearing from the Nottingham companies doing business with Europe.
It's just the ease of it, there's not barriers there, obviously VAT, so the easier things are for us, the better.
We feel that we could be independent and give a whole lot more back to our own country as opposed to bringing it in from Europe.
Do one for get me in it then, do another one, get me in it. Go on, another high one. Here we go.
Go on, let's see how you're going. Go on, Luke. Thank you, by the way. Oh, there's that is another.
No, all teeth I am. Crikey.
And while he's meeting his fan club again, we'll be meeting the battling brothers. One wants to stay in, one wants to come out.
We've always had arguments around the family table. We've always debated politics. If you look at our family history, my grandfather was a trade union man. My father was is the president of the local Conservatives in Nottinghamshire. So, we've always had these family debates.
And as if that wasn't enough, the thoughts of
Richard Baker.
He knows everything.
The group that might swing it will be those who have not made their minds up and they just don't like the uncertainty that this whole votes bring, and their attitude is let's just get it over and done with whatever decision we're going to take.
You should be on this side of the camera because we're having so much fun. My name's Des Coleman.
And I'm Rob Pitton, but we can't tell you any of that. Sorry, yeah. I stole your lines, but carry on. Tell them what we've got to say next.
We've got to be balanced on this one.
We've got to be very, very careful because, Des, there are people out there with their telephones, with their tablets, just waiting for the first hint of...
Bias, mate.
Bias,
yeah.
Exactly. That's easy for you to say. So you won't get any bias here. You won't be told how to vote one way or the other, but you'll hear plenty of views on how business approaches the EU referendum. But first of all, let's just remind ourselves of what it's all about. Whether we vote to stay in the EU or to leave, it's a massive decision facing all of us. The referendum is about more than just economics. The EU affects almost every area of our lives in some way. Immigration and sovereignty are important parts of the debate. But we're concentrating on the economics of what it all means and the implications for jobs and our future prosperity. Nottingham City Council has nailed its colours to the mast. It wants us to stay in. The council reckons that membership of the European Union has been worth almost £1 billion to Nottingham's economy. It says 1 in 8 jobs in the city depend directly or indirectly on Britain's membership of the EU. And it reckons that we've had £263 million in investment in the last 16 years. But it's worth remembering throughout this programme that for every fact one side puts forward, the other side will dispute it. The Leave campaign would say that because we're a net contributor to the European Union, in other words, we put more money in than we get back, all of the cash we're spending here is our own money anyway. And they argue that we would have more of it to spend on regeneration and economic development if we left. And without EU rules to hold us back, it could all be done quicker. On June the 23rd, after months of campaigning by both sides, it'll be down to each of us to decide which one we believe and which side holds the best hope for the future.
Rob, that's very interesting.
Well, thank you very much, and don't sound quite so surprised. I was trying my best there. Let's hear from a Nottingham firm now, though. This is Ascendex.
Are they in or out?
Well, they're going to sit nicely on the fence again, Des. They don't want to say one way or the other, but they do a lot of business with Europe, and they're a good example of what the EU means to our economy. It's a worldwide business with a European heart, based in Nottingham. Ascendex handles large-scale messaging and communications for companies. If you've had a text telling you your delivery is on its way or your next optician's appointment is due, it probably came from here.
Ascendex is a mobile messaging business, so we help companies communicate with their staff and their customers through SMS and through email and through voice and through the web. We have got 140 people around the world now, and in the last 3 years we have quadrupled our profits and trebled our revenues.
Ascendex has made the most of the ease with which companies can trade across Europe. Its customers include Real Madrid and the French President François Hollande. When it comes to the referendum, it's strictly neutral, but Europe is a vital marketplace.
It's very, very important to us, very fast-growing marketplace, and the ability for us to kind of move data and people and capital around Europe is very important.
So give me an idea of how you operate in Europe and how it all works for you.
There are no barriers really to us moving data around or to us moving our people around.
Many of the staff working here in Nottingham are EU citizens, able to work without visas. Gabrielle is from Madrid, lured to Nottingham to work for a growing company at a time when youth unemployment back home in Spain is around 50%.
I have a friend from university that is finishing his university in Nottingham. I was looking for a job and I looked in Nottingham and there are some opportunities available, so I decided to come to Nottingham.
And how does it compare with Madrid?
Well, the size of Nottingham is much smaller than Madrid, but I feel really welcome in this city and I love this city.
Sylvain is from France but has made a home here. You're from Paris. How did you end up in Nottingham?
My girlfriend was in Paris at the time. She was learning French and we met up in Paris and decided to move on, come back at her place.
So she's an English girl from Nottingham?
Yeah, from Nottingham.
Most of the customers and most of our European staff are very pro-European. So for them, they kind of look across them with a slight degree of amusement, I think, at the whole debate.
Do people kind of not want to do business with you because they think we may be leaving?
No, it's not that far at all. I think everybody's just kind of keen for the uncertainty to end, really, and then we can move on.
The company says the single market and the free movement of workers across the EU has made it easier for it to grow. But it's keen to point out that we may still well have access to them even if the UK leaves the European Union. One thing's for certain, whatever happens after the referendum, trading with Europe is still going to be important to the Nottingham economy.
So that's Ascendex sitting on the fence.
Yeah, let's hear now, Deso, from two people who've got very firm views.
Oh, the battling brothers.
Yeah, this is the Baxter brothers, two Nottingham businessmen who are on different sides of the debate. Nigel and Ian Baxter's family has been in business in Nottingham for generations.
Our new truck range.
Each brother runs a business on either side of the ring road. Ian's company handles logistics for freight firms. Nigel runs a Renault dealership for the haulage industry. He's also the East Midlands business spokesperson for the Leave campaign. Ian, on the other hand, strongly believes in remaining in.
Look, I'm really disappointed.
Nigel, let's go to you first of all. I mean, we're in the middle of the campaign now, and your views aren't softening?
No, not at all. No, in fact, hardening really. As more detail I get into and the more I listen to these erroneous figures being trotted out by various organisations, the more I am determined that we should leave.
I'm still of the view that we need to remain in the European Union for three reasons really. The first is because of our trading relationship. You know, nearly half our exports go to the EU and they'll be made more difficult if we leave. The second is that will affect foreign direct investment into this region and around the nation. And the third is, what kind of country do you really want to be? Fundamentally, I believe Britain needs to be an outward-looking, cooperative, collaborative country, and that's what we get from our membership of the European Union.
In terms of what sort of country we want to be, yes, we want to be an outward-looking, global country that can do business all over the world and not be constrained and restrained by the EU, that has singularly failed both all of its members of the Eurozone. Fortunately, we're not one, but it's certainly the ripple effect of that is something we're going to see as that starts to fall apart even further.
Did you know, Des, there are two other Baxter brothers?
No, I didn't know that.
What a thought, eh? I can't tell you how they might vote, though, because it could always upset the balance. And obviously, I don't know how they might vote.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll cut over you because I want to tell you this. Yeah. It's been a long time, Rob, since we've heard from our economic guru.
Oh, Richard Baker. Well, Richard, first of all, what are businesses telling you? You know, what kind of feedback are you getting from when you go around and talk to them about the effect this referendum is having on them? Is it just the uncertainty that's really affecting them?
Uncertainty is the big thing for them because they can't plan ahead if there's going to be some kind of major change to our economic relationship with our biggest trading partner. So there are people out there who will tell you privately, we're not going to make the investments until we know what's happening with this debate. So that is a big issue, and you've heard the Bank of England say it has contributed to a bit of a slowdown.
And this is being portrayed as a national debate. It's a national conversation. Is there a Nottingham angle to it, though?
Well, a couple of things that we can talk about. You've got a number of global businesses based in Nottingham. They depend on a kind of two-way trade of talent. You've got businesses here who like to have people coming in from abroad, bringing their expertise, but also they want opportunity to send their staff overseas, and that means setting up in a place where you do business in the same way that you do here.
And this might sound fanciful, but you know, we're in the market square, and Nottingham has a kind of continental feel to me sometimes. It's like a European market square, this, isn't it, in many ways? Do you get that feeling we're a European city?
Yeah, there is a definite European dimension. There's some European money in the square behind us. It flips two ways for Nottingham. There will be a lot of people who come and work here because they do view it as part of Europe, and it's a place where they can come and create opportunities for new careers. But equally, there will be people in Nottingham who are concerned that, well, I could have done those jobs, so why are we letting people from abroad into opportunities that I needed because I'm unemployed?
Yeah, well, it's been a while since we've heard from our economic guru, Richard Baker.
Always interesting to hear what he's got to say, but you might have noticed in this first half we've been speaking to people that have been tiptoeing around the...
What's that, you like a Thunderbird puppet? What's all that about?
the Frankenstein, tiptoeing around the subject, but in the second half we'll be hearing from one business at least that definitely wants to leave. I'm going to leave.
It will strengthen us as British manufacturers that make us continue to strengthen ourselves and be independent.
And we'll be hearing from a business that wants
to stay in.
Football's got a worldwide audience. This Leicester story just captured the world's attention, so we sell quite a lot of products to Europe.
We have to rework a lot of things in order to adapt to not being in the European Union.
And I know you can't wait for this, Des,
Go on then.
we'll be finding out what the Chamber of Commerce thinks of the whole thing.
It can affect everything, of course, from investment to recruitment to development of workforce, you know, right across the gamut of the business spectrum, really.
That's it, so see you after the break.
Nottingham Trent University, proud sponsors of Working Week. Nottingham Trent University, proud sponsors of Working Week.
It's like Transport Central here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It just don't stop, does it?
Yeah. Anyway, welcome back to Working Week.
It's our EU special.
And no messing around in this half. We'll be hearing from a business that definitely wants us to leave.
As British manufacturers, we believe that it will strengthen us. Standing on our own 2 feet, we would look after ourselves.
And on the other hand, that one, the businesses that want us to stay.
You live a long and happy life.
It'd be a big hindrance to us. A lot of small businesses that trade in Europe would take a hit a lot bigger. Things become a lot more complicated.
And we'll hear from the shop floor workers with a divided view.
The workers are divided.
Oh, that's lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think leave, I think.
I think we should stay, so I'm a great believer in that, you know, stay as we are.
Most of the steel could be produced over here, and we could be using that instead of foreign steel.
Control his own destiny, I suppose.
I don't like changes too much.
And Des won't have a song for the next one because we'll be hearing from the Chamber of Commerce.
Commerce, I got the verse. If you want to hear a rap, this one's cool.
For the Chamber, it's about cutting through the rhetoric, cutting through the spin, and providing the base information, really, so businesses can be as well informed as possible.
Well, I think we got away with that one, Des.
I reckon we did, Rob. And if you didn't hear me first time, this is our EU special.
We'll be hearing from the businesses that want to stay in and the businesses that want to come out. But first of all, let's just take a look at what this is all about. There's no doubt EU money pours into Nottingham and Nottinghamshire from Brussels, and often in ways we don't even notice. As we'll hear shortly, the Creative Quarter, regenerating parts of the city, is heavily EU funded. The improvements to the old market square were also helped by EU cash. According to the City Council, exports to the EU are worth almost £1 billion to the city's economy. And then there's the money we don't notice or don't see. Housing associations borrow at low rates from the European Investment Bank to pay for social housing. Millions too go into research at our universities, and then of course there are more millions of pounds in subsidies to our farmers. But here's where the Remain campaign has an advantage, because it's easy for us to show you what life inside the European Union looks like, because, well, that's what we have. What we can't show you is what life outside the EU would be like, and that's because at the moment it's just an idea or an argument. And the Brexit campaigners would say that whilst it's true that money pours from Brussels into Nottingham, far more of it goes in the opposite direction. Leave campaigners argue that all of these things would continue. We would have to have money for regeneration and economic development. University research would still be funded, and in all likelihood, our farmers would still be subsidised. Their view is that the money we'd save by leaving Europe, around £8 billion this year, would give us more cash to spend on these things. They also believe that freed from what they see as EU red tape, businesses would flourish and would be free to trade with the rest of the world on our own terms. Of course, there's more to this debate than just economics. There's also questions around immigration and sovereignty too, but we're concentrating on jobs and prosperity. And just remember that for every argument there's a counter-argument, and just about every fact in this story is disputed. At the end of the day, it's up to each of us to make up our own mind.
And there endeth the sermon.
Yeah, sorry, it was a bit like that, wasn't it? Important to get through these points so everyone knows where we stand, which is right in the middle, by the way. Let there be no doubt, no bias here whatsoever. But let's hear now from a company that definitely knows where it stands. This firm wants to leave. It's a traditional metal bashing manufacturer with a very modern edge. A1 Flues at Ollerton in North Notts makes flue systems for companies around the world. It's worked on some of the most cutting-edge construction projects in the country, including the London Shard and the revamp of Birmingham New Street Station. And here the view is that leaving the EU would be good for British business.
As British manufacturers, we believe that it would strengthen us because we would be independent, depending on ourselves as opposed to others. We feel that we could strengthen ourselves because we are a good, strong country. We feel that we could be independent and give a whole lot more back to our own country as opposed to bringing it in from Europe.
TJ Moyer's an award-winning businesswoman who's passionate about the family firm she now runs. She's got an unusual take on the single market, saying it makes it too easier for inferior companies to compete alongside firms like hers with higher standards, and reckons the Made in Britain symbol would have more clout than Made in Europe.
We are dictated to far too much. I think by standing on our own 2 feet, we would look after ourselves as opposed to listening to others and having others' views on it. Things such as the CE mark, we've listened to that. That cost us a whole lot of money to get the CE mark in place. And we've not benefited from that at all because obviously there's nobody policing it. Let's bring back the British kite mark. Everybody knew it as the UK.
So the company's firmly in favour of coming out, but on the work floor, there's a split.
All the politicians are saying all different things, so you don't know who to believe, really. Personally, I might vote to exit the Brexit, but I don't know.
Oh, I think it is good, yeah. I mean, it's keeping the country moving, keeping in business, aren't we? You know, that's what we want, really. It keeps everybody in jobs.
There's quite a few foreigners coming over here taking UK jobs and don't think it's right. I think leave, I think.
But while some of the workforce are making up their minds, TJ says there's consensus amongst the business people she knows.
British manufacturing, most definitely. Majority-wise, I think, yes, Britain would be for it.
While many businesses are taking stock of what the EU referendum debate means and planning what to do if Britain votes to leave, this is one company that's relishing the prospect. A1 Flues in North Nottinghamshire, Des, and do you know what? About half the people I went to school with work in that factory.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
No, that are things you learn watching Working Week. Woo! Anyway, these people want to come out. Let's meet the people that definitely want to stay in.
It's perhaps not surprising that the view from these newly refurbished buildings in Sneinton Market is very much pro-EU. £2.5 million of the £4 million cost of the project came from the European Union.
It's good if you wait until the paper's gone on.
The aim to revitalise an area that had struggled to attract trade and to invest in a growing part of Nottingham's economy, the creative industries.
The European Union has been really good for Nottingham and really good for the creative quarter. You know, if it wasn't for European funding, we wouldn't have the public realm improvements in the area, we wouldn't have new creative workspace at Sneinton Market, and we wouldn't have Space 2, which is new creative industry space just up the street, up the road from here. It's also funded CQ Connect, which is our kind of better broadband, better technology programme. So for us, without Europe, without the common market, we're not going to be able to create the jobs, the infrastructure, and I suppose attract the talent that we need in this country.
So we've got 200 of these Hallelujah for the borough promotion. Yeah.
Luke and Anthony are typical of the new businesses growing up in Sneinton Market. They're tapping into the worldwide demand for football, selling T-shirts and artworks based around the Premier League and attracting a global audience.
It's just the ease of it. There's not barriers there, obviously VAT, so you know, the easier things are for us, the better.
What do you think it would mean if we left?
Well, I think it would be a massive hindrance to sort of small companies just like ours. We post things out daily all across Europe, and with the VAT restrictions, the postage, everything like that, it's all a lot easier when you're within the European Union. And if we leave, it's just going to become a lot more hard work.
But how much business do you do in Europe then?
Football's got a worldwide audience, so you know, this Leicester story just captured the world's attention, so we sell quite a lot to Europe.
And for Cathy McCardle, the benefits of being in Europe aren't just about moving goods freely throughout the single market, but moving ideas and talented people too.
A lot of the businesses that are here trade globally because they operate digitally across the internet, so they've got collaborators in countries all over the world. So for them, it's as much about attracting digital talent, creative talent. It's also about ideas.
In a referendum that's all about determining the future direction of the UK, this small part of Sneinton is convinced there's a brighter future ahead through staying in. So some pretty strong views there, Des, in the creative quarter, not surprisingly perhaps.
No, you're absolutely right. And before I do my next link, Rob, do you know why I'm standing like this?
No, I've no idea.
Because it's my best side.
Is it? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
much
watch
better.
how the link works now. Let's hear from the official voice of the business community.
Yeah, Holly Jones has been to meet Scott Knowles from the Nottinghamshire Chamber.
So Scott, what's the Chamber's stance on the EU referendum?
Well, as a membership organisation, we clearly have members which have polarised views on this subject. So clearly we take a neutral position.
How are these businesses feeling about the referendum?
I think it's very sector specific. So for the majority of businesses, you know, if you are an exporter, then clearly you want to know if there was a leave vote or a remain vote, you know, what is the administrative burden on your business going to be? Certainly some businesses have said that obviously it clearly creates some uncertainty, and therefore that's had an impact on things like their investment plans, for example. We can put the information out there for business because of course this should be, you know, the decision should be based on an economic one, but of course there are a lot more factors.
And you walk down any high street and you'll see specials all over the place, but you haven't seen any special like our EU special.
I didn't know where you were going with that. That's brilliant. I hope it's been some help. We've heard from the battling Baxter brothers.
Companies that want to stay in.
Companies that want to go out.
And sit on the fence.
Yeah, and we hope it's given you an idea of how Nottingham trades with Europe and what might happen, whether we stay in or whether we come out, and maybe it's helped you to make your mind up on how you're going to vote.
All that's left for us to say is au revoir.
Goodbye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Sayonara.
Say what?
Oh, that's Japanese.
That's Jack and Nora.
I've run out of European languages.
See ya.
Nottingham Trent University, working with you. Proud sponsors of Working Week.